Welcome back to the program. Well, I've got my guest with me in the studio, Mr. Dayakin Toby, with me to continue the conversation. And joining me via Skype is another political affairs analyst, Mr. Akin Fatunke. Thank you very much, sirs, for joining me. Now, Mr. Fatunke, I'll start with you right now. I mean, what factors, I mean, this is a pivotal moment for the people of Ondo State following the death of Rotimi Akeredolu back in 2023, which was a very trying time for the residents of Ondo State. And now they are back to the polls to decide who will pilot the affairs of their state. How significant is this day, you know, in deciding the affairs of, you know, Ondo State, the people of Ondo State?
The significance perhaps is underpinned by the fact that Aiyedatiwa, against all odds, was lucky enough to finish Akeredolu's term. And take it or leave it, shenanigans notwithstanding, he was able to brave the storms and therefore completed Aiyedatiwa's term. He is coming in on a fresh mandate of his own, will remain perhaps amongst one of the very few that we have, whether at the presidential level. I mean, we had an attempt with Goodluck Jonathan, or at any other state governor's level, maybe very few and far between, will be such that you will enjoy as a deputy governor to complete the term of your immediate principal, and then the people willingly now say, go for another mandate. The significance, therefore, will be, in my honest opinion, ceteris paribus, as economists will want to put it. He has been able to learn the good, the bad, well, of course, naturally the ugly, from the immediate past administration. He would have been able to learn from mistakes made and then chart new course. That is the significance of this election. Another significance, of course, the Sunshine State, the Ondo State, the Ondo State of the old Ondo, old wild, you know. I wanted to say West, yes, Southwest region. As they say, downtown, Ondo people, don't they take last? I don't know, they take nonsense. I see situations where, you know, all eyes are trained towards this particular off-cycle elections. It has in its wake the normal. I mean, there were agitations that, you know, Madam Toyin should be removed, should not be removed. There were cross-carpeting. Strong party members have cross-carpeted. It's also significant in the sense that I know my dear brother Dio was initially talking about some of the strengths of the parties, and I think he's spot on. The Labour Party is coming into this election not putting all its eggs in one basket. By that I mean what has just happened in the Abia State, whereby the mainstream Labour decided overnight to go to the zenith and they cleared all the local government elections. So somehow, somewhat, Labour is still being represented. How effective can they be, like Dio said, now leaves us doing a lot of guessing. If ceteris paribus, by that I mean all things remain equal, the sensitive materials have been distributed to all the 18 local government areas, and the two main contenders, like Dio said, and I think the better part of the analytical minds have also said, is a straight one between the PDP and the APC. Is well cut out, in my opinion. I know you may ask me later, but I'll just drop it clear here that the incumbent seems about ready, you know, to carry the day. What would have torpedoed the whole thing was what was projected in the run-up to the 2023 elections at the federal level. If opposition were, please pardon my words, serious enough to recognize their SWOT, by that I mean their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and strength, and knew that there were weaknesses within the opposition. Virtually all opposition had their own weaknesses, but with the opposition is much more, and that they could have formidably come together to form a single potent force by way of opposition. Perhaps the story we are going to be saying today will have been different, but that did not happen. They are still fighting. They are still competing, not fighting. Okay. They are still competing at different levels, being local champions at different areas. And if what is going to clean the price for today is Akure South, Akure South with the largest number of voters of the 1.7 that got registered from the 2 million that was expected. Okay, come voter apathy, and a lot of concentration as we speak today is towards Akure South. And if you see the kind of campaign that I think I saw up till about 48 hours ago, both from PDP and from APC, it looks to me that it's going to be a relatively straight win for another lucky Ayeda Tiwa, who, in my own opinion, will be riding on the crest of Akeredolu. And you know what Akeredolu was to the Southwest? I mean, the Dawn Commission, you know, the Amotekums and what have you. Whether he has actually done so well without necessarily dismantling, like Agbola has alleged, or, you know, and all that, is another thing entirely. But I think I'm putting out my neck to say that the incumbent is most likely to be returned unopposed, and then, of course, every other person will now go to court, and then we begin the usual cycle of agree, I don't agree, and all that kind of stuff. My opinion.
To ask, no, I mean, the events leading to the election in Ondo State have been considered really peaceful, unlike the usual upheaval we have or we get just before the elections, where candidates, you know, go at each other, so many accusations and counter accusations. Why do you think that this election is different from other elections in the country?
Again, it's not going to be scientific for me to keep on talking about luck and fables. Okay, but I just think there is an element of luck and sunshine that has come to Ondo State. I will give you 2 or 3 examples of certain happenings within the last 1 week or 2 weeks, thereabout, that kind of okay, give me an indication that is going to be a relatively walkover for the incumbent. President Obasanjo visited not too long ago, and he wished Lucky Aiyeda Tiwa all the best of luck. So you can come out and say that, yeah, he was playing the father's role. He would have wished any other person luck. But that was projected to the whole world, and it came on, you know, unedited, unabashed. That was a positive one for a man who went ahead to trace the history of how he started his own campaign right there in Ondo State, and how he was able to break down the barriers and the walls. The second one was the family of Ajasi. Now, the family of Ajasi, according to what I read, okay, and I want to believe it is true, or less controverted, also came and endorsed Aiyedatiwa. I thought that was a very big one. The allusion that you are making in the days of Omobori Owo Ajasi and when the whole thing now turned Ori, it seems calm and relative, so to speak. Now then, the Ondo people in outside Ondo town, people like you and I, people like my brother Dayo, who will sit and analyze, who may even be indigents of that state, have read through some of the promises that have been made. I watched the debate. It was more of wanting to pull down and trying to prove and then trying to attack personalities without necessarily coming out with the fact that Ondo State is not a state that you can say today is amongst the first tier in terms of virtually everything. IDR, in terms of capacity, yes, we have human capacity, we have land, and then of course it's also oil producing, and we have what you want to try and describe as a civil service that perhaps trying to be overbloated, but now being paid by way of the civil servants taking a decision where they are going to lean to. Aiyedatiwa has calculatively tried to do whatever he could do in there. Maybe something could be better. I thought maybe I was going to hear somebody say that, security votes, and they are going to try and be a bit efficient and then try and beat a place like Lagos, beat a place like River State, which I know is going to be very difficult in terms of the minimum wage that we are talking about. Talk about intermodal and the expectation that between Ondo, Osun Agrarian, and Oyo State, and then talk of Lagos, the Dawn Commission thing would have been, this is what I'm going to do, even if I won as an opposition, even if I won as an incumbent, to make sure I do necessary backward linkages. A lot of that did not come in. But the intelligentsia are already projecting that with the kind of synergy that the APC is supposed to have, supposed to have, in some of the adjoining states, apart from, say, Oyo and Osun, Ondo State is just waiting to unravel. That tells me that those of us who are in Lagos, in Abuja, are already seeing the direction straight on the wall, unless if Agbola Ajayi, by a miracle which is not impossible, now becomes the governor of Ondo State, and in no time, that's how I feel. With due respect, I'm not supposed to say this, but this is just an analysis of mine. He will find his way back to APC. It might, that's the word, it might find its way back to his base. I see that the PDP is trying, like wounded lions that they should be, after losing those states, that everything must be done. Whatever it is that's going to be done must be done to make sure we revamp. And this is where the vote buying allegations come in. I know Ondo State with the federal might, okay, and I also know that the PDP states with their governors in tow are coming on board. There is no way that we are not going to get this kind of vote buying, and the higher vote buyer perhaps.
Short here. Now, I'll come to you, Mr. Dayo Akintobi. Reports reaching us reveal that Aiyedatiwa has cast his vote in his local government area, Igbo Ward 4 in the Ogbenla community of Ilaje local government. Now, he has also expressed confidence that he will win the election, which is further proof of how strong a candidate he is in Ondo State. Now, what's your assessment of Aiyedatiwa's statement?
I've never heard a politician come out and say he's not confident that he's going to win. Even if the polls are showing him coming last, he will always just say, I'm confident that I'm going to win. First of all, it's a psychological boost. Secondly, it sends out a message to his supporters so that those who haven't gone to cast their votes can do that. But that's par for the course. He's going to say that anyway, whether he believes it or not. That's inside his own conscience. However, when the chips are down and you look at the situation in Ondo State, the tea leaves kind of favor him at the moment. As Mr. Fatunke said, he's riding on a crest of goodwill from the Akeredolu days. As the incumbent, he has the advantage of incumbency. And then he's running on his own record as well. In the last year and a bit, he's been able to show himself to the people. Agbola, his closest opponent, has only functioned as the deputy governor of the state. He's never really been in the driver's seat to show what he can do. So even when Agbola is talking, it's all theoretical. Ayedatiwa can run on his record. He can run on the 7-year record of Akeredolu and then the 1-year plus record of his time in government. So he has basis to say he's confident, but I don't put much credence to that statement beyond the fact that it's just political showboating, because every politician will tell you that they're confident of victory. The reality sometimes is very different, because even the person who is going to lose and who knows he's going to lose, he's going to be telling you that he's confident of victory. So I don't think we should put too much salt or too much credence into that statement. But, well, he's cast his vote. I'm sure if he doesn't get any other vote, he'll get his own vote. So he's guaranteed at least one vote. So he's cast his vote. So far, reports coming out of Ondo is that the exercise has been largely peaceful. INEC is on ground. I should commend INEC for the last couple of elections.
I was going to ask you on INEC's performance.
Yes, in Edo, there were very few complaints. Election materials arrived on time. Sensitive materials were protected the way they should. In the run-up to the Ondo election, you heard the Inspector General give some pronouncements. He banned vehicular movements. The military is on the outskirts of town in the event of any outbreaks of violence. The Inspector General said the VIPs and dignitaries should leave their orderlies and sirens at home when they come out to vote. So there seems to have been quite a bit of posturing in terms of wanting to make sure that the process is seamless, is above board, and is devoid of any kind of violence or malpractice. And it seems that INEC is doing a good job. Because remember, INEC has lost a lot of credibility. That 2023 election, there were too many complaints. Issues of IREV, issues of the card reader, issues of collation. There were just so many problems in 2023. And a lot of people still hold INEC responsible and believe perhaps that the results that were ultimately declared are impeachable. Even in Edo State, despite the fact that they seem to have run very well, there are some people who still think that that election was not properly recorded and reported. So it's good to see INEC on the job, minimizing any lapses. The shortcomings and complaints are very few. We're not hearing stories of, we got to the polling booth, there are no election materials, the officials are not here. We've not heard any of that today. So I think INEC is learning from its own mistakes and trying to improve its performance so as to give the public a better perception of its integrity and its above-boardness.
Right. So you look at the candidates who are contesting this election. No females, all males. And that's despite numerous calls for an improvement in women representation in politics and governance. Why do you think that this is always the case? For every election, you see less representation of females, more of the men on the political scene, contesting major political roles, should I say. Why do you think that is? Is it that the women don't want to come out? Why is there that hesitation on the part of women?
I think the system is rigged against women, and not just against women, but against particular tribes of people. When I say tribe, I'm not talking ethnic, but what I mean is particular sectors of the population, women, independent candidates, the elites, anti-establishment people, radicals, advocates, you find it very difficult for those who are not your typical patriarchal, masculine, strong man. Nigeria has always favored a strong man in politics. And so if you don't fit the mold, that mold of a charismatic, agbada wearing, strong man who is doling out largesse and who is a man of the people, who knows how to high five. And so there is a prototype that fits the Nigerian mentality of a typical politician. And if you don't fit into that prototype, it's very difficult to break through the concrete ceiling. Let's not even call it a glass ceiling. It's a concrete ceiling. I'm sure there are many women who are interested in throwing their hats in the ring, but they see that the system is rigged against them in terms of even emerging as a candidate. Because at the ward level, at the state party level, where you start from, you start at the ward level at any party, and you step up and step up and step up from there. But right from the ward level, I don't know if it's a cultural thing in Nigeria to where we believe women today should still be barefoot, pregnant, and in the kitchen, looking after home, husband, children, and be homemakers, even if they have a professional career. I think there is a psychological impediment among our cultural ethos that just sees a woman, first of all, as the weaker gender, as more of a homemaker. But today's reality doesn't comport with that anymore. You see women in corporate positions. There are women running local governments in Lagos. There are women deputy governors. So women are ready and willing to take up the mantle of responsibility administratively within our politics, but the system is not yet favorable enough to allow them to emerge. So I think the system is rigged against them. It's not. Look, for example, in this last election, there was a woman who was a heartbeat away from the governorship. Even they had to recount. I think it was Adamawa, I can't remember. They had to recount, or Taraba.
Yes,
Mama
Adamawa.
Taraba.
No,
Adamawa.
yes.
Adamawa. They had to recount the votes too. In fact, matter of fact, somebody had initially declared the lady as the winner. And then they went and they counted and counted and said, no, we haven't counted. So that's how close it was. She almost emerged. And for her to have done that, I think that is a breakthrough for women. I think we'll see more. Even in this administration, there's a senator from Kogi State, Senator Uduaga, who is getting a lot of rave reviews for the things she has done in her 1 year plus in office, the achievements she has recorded for the people of her senatorial district is giving her so much acclaim that people are starting to begin to see that not only are women capable, but if given the chance, they probably will even outperform the men as well. Because women naturally, by their God-given demeanor, are more conscientious, they're more caring, they have a more caring nature than men. Us men deal more with logic, we deal more, we're not given to sentiment, we're more methodolic about how we approach things, So I would say that we will see more women in politics in the coming years, and we look forward to that.
Well, finally, let's go back to Ayedatiwa now. He has promised to carry out more infrastructural projects across the state if elected governor. Now, is infrastructure what Ondo State needs right now? And what other aspects do you think that Ondo State needs a lot of intervention? As
Mr. Fatunke said, Ondo State is not counted among the top performing states in any of the human developmental indices, whether it's education, whether it's healthcare, infant mortality, potable water, all of the things you use to measure human progress. You don't count Ondo in the top 5 or in the top 10 of the states in Nigeria. So it needs a lot of everything. And what makes it all the more heart-wrenching is that it's an oil-producing state, so it gets derivation. So it's got quite a bit of money. I know that Ondo has quite a large land mass. I also know that part of it is riverine. So it's got geographic and landscape challenges to do with how vast the space that needs to be administered is quite a large land mass. But they've got the money, and I think that Ondo is a state where they have a lot of educated, enlightened people. So those people continue to agitate and demand better performance from government. So infrastructure, well, everybody needs infrastructure. If you don't have roads, you don't have gutters, you don't have bridges, you don't have the ability to move freely, both people and goods, then business is stymied. So we all need infrastructure. But infrastructure is just one bit of the equation in terms of progress and development. So equal attention needs to be paid to education, the schools, the universities, the primary schools, the secondary schools, education, how many general hospitals do they have, how many primary care centers, how many doctors, with this Jackpot syndrome where all our medical personnel are leaving, how many doctors do they have per 1,000 Ondo residents? These are things that need to be addressed. So why can't Ondo start up a teaching hospital, a world-class, spend the money and set up a world-class teaching hospital that will train doctors and that will be able to attract the kind of, or be able to offer the kind of world-class medical service that people are traveling abroad to go and get. Probably that's the kind of infrastructure, as opposed to just roads and bridges. Hospitals are infrastructure, schools are infrastructure as well. So maybe some attention needs to be paid to that. Can they generate their own power, which is a big issue nowadays, about getting off the national grid and generating your own power for your own people? Can the state look at that? How is their potable water? Do they have water running from taps? Or is everybody, like in Lagos State, going to bore wells and things like that? So that's the kind of infrastructure I think we should be talking about.
All right. Let me come to you, Mr. Akin Fatunke. Now, PDP lost in Edo State during the September governorship election. We have Monday Okpebolo of the APC as governor. Now, if they lose again to the APC in Ondo State, how will this affect their performance in the 2027 general elections?
Okay, I mean, you want to put me and drive me under the wheel, but it's a very beautiful question, okay? And, you know, I started by talking about strategy. You might as well be asking me what's going to happen in 2027, despite the hues and cries and the pains of, call it APC. You know, the truth is that unless and until opposition realizes the fact that they were going to be swimming against the tide and that they can all come back together and be formidable, they are not likely to have a chance. Politics is local. And take it or leave it, we have not grown to the extent whereby we decide we are going to break the concrete ceiling, like my dear brother has said, not even glass. So if APC wins in this by-election, as is being projected to, it therefore tells me that the opposition will have to go back to the drawing board, put their house in order, which again is easy to say, but extremely difficult to achieve. Get back to the pre-2023 general elections, where by my own analysis and the analysis of quite a number of people, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will not have succeeded to be the president of Nigeria if Labour, as we had it then, and PDP and NNPP were formidable. Okay, I know it is not a binary 2 + 2 make 4. Sometimes it makes 5. I mean, by the time you put in quite a number of so many other factors, you might now have a situation where, against the run and trend of analysis, the wrong man or the wrong person wins. We've just seen that in America. But, well, I'm not saying Trump is the wrong man, but I'm saying in terms of, the kind of analysis and projections. Because the people of America were just ready that even it's going to be a demagogue, so shall it be. The people of Nigeria, the voters of Nigeria, are still not sophisticated enough that they can be swayed left, right, and center. And if that happens, and this election goes the way of APC, sends a knell for the likes of Gregory Peter Obi, and I'm mentioning names, Atiku Abubakar, and Kwankwaso, to now come out and say the whole one road of now pointing fingers at every other person apart from yourselves and your strategy is not going to work in 2027. Disparage the judiciary as much as you want, and I'm not saying they are perfect. We are getting some shaking and movement there. Disparage INEC. I say that they are not. I'm almost certain they are not. We tried LISEC and we saw what happened. And if 2 plus 2 is strictly going to be equal 4, to make it 5 will mean that you have to find a way that somebody will have to step down and say, look, climb on my shoulders, is going to be your turn. As we move towards 2027, the unwritten convention is that the presidency of Nigeria should remain in the South. Now, we have somebody from the Southwest against the run-up, I dare say, mentioned whatever it is, got in there. There is still a 4-year term in 2027. The only way this can be upturned is to get, in my view, conventionally, still somebody from the South, perhaps this time around from another geopolitical zone that will be highly supported, very highly supported by all the opposition, then come onto the table to come and fight the war. Otherwise, in my opinion, and all things being equal, APC might still clinch the day. Now, if Aiyedatiwa loses this election, and this is the point, and something now happens, I say an Ajayi, or maybe as we are saying all these things, all the other parties now they just come together and say, look, let's look at the handwriting. All my people go ahead and vote for, a particular, maybe Zenith or PDP. Late, but it's still not impossible. So if Aiyedatiwa still wins, my point still remains. Rejoice, opposition. Go back to the drawing board. Don't go and sleep and continue your shenanigans of, divide and rule. Wike is on one side, and Atiku on the other side, and, Labour is on the other side. Go and form yourself into a formidable team. It will be a plus for you, but don't lose it on you not getting back to the basic strategy of coming together to be able to fight a formidable APC at the center. So either way, the opposition needs to get their acts together, make sure this remains in the South, fight neatly and beautifully as much as you wish, competitively, to oust the present APC government. And the only way you can do that is if all of you begin to come together like yesterday. Yesterday is gone. Okay, so today is getting late. It has to be tomorrow. Otherwise, it's going to be shame of shame, as our Wafi people will say downtown. Thank you.
on, the chances of the PDP, both in this election and in subsequent elections before 2027?
Well, let's remember that the PDP was in power for 16 years from when we came back to this democratic dispensation. So the PDP knows how to be the incumbent, but they don't know very well how to be the opposition. They're not used to being in the opposition, and they haven't handled it very well. So I think it's hurtful to them to find themselves suddenly no longer the behemoth it used to be, the largest party in Africa, the one that's going to rule from the desert to the sea and will be in power for 400 years, if you remember how they used to brag back then. So I think to find themselves out of reckoning is really causing them major headaches. To be able to fight their way back into contention, there are so many things that need to happen. Part of the reason why they lost so badly in 2023 was the fact that their house was divided. Remember, apart from anything else, Peter Obi left and drew away a good number of voters. Kwankwaso left, drew away a good number of voters. The G5, led by Wike, who were all PDP governors, left, or well, they didn't leave, but they supported the opposition candidate. They didn't support their own candidates. Then there was the issue that the candidate the party put forward then was from the North, which a lot of people said the North has just had 8 years, it must rotate to the South. So they lost a number of voters on account of presenting a candidate from the North. So that's what we call own goal. They scored many own goals against themselves. Yes, they sure did. So I believe they've learned from that, and what they're trying to do now is to bring themselves together in such a way that they can work their way back into reckoning and into power from the way they've handled themselves the last 8 years of Buhari, 2 years now of Tinubu. That's a decade. The way they've handled themselves in the last 10 years has shown to them that they are not strategically positioned in such a way that they can wrestle power back. And it goes to show when you look at the most recent elections that have taken place, they've lost practically all of them. They've lost their dough. The only ones where they've had successes is the local government elections, and that's because the governor controls the state electoral commission and they write the results the way they want. But in elections conducted by INEC, especially the off-cycle elections, the PDP hasn't fared very well. You look at what happened in Ondo State, and we'll see what happens today. So, as Mr. Fatunke has said, the build-up to 2027 has already started, and PDP is not necessarily showing that it yet has learned how to correct the fault lines and the shortcomings that has led to it finding itself on its back foot at the moment. So for me, the country needs to have a healthy opposition, which Atiku is trying to do now. But I wish Atiku would take a back seat and be the elder statesman of the party who is just advising, giving direction, complaining, criticizing, offering solutions. I don't want to see him try to run again. I think he should leave it for somebody younger in 2027 and somebody from the South in 2027, so that that gentleman's agreement in the country between North and South, that rotational principle, can be upheld and can be adhered to. So I think PDP needs to play a better role as opposition, because it is when you are playing the proper role of an opposition, which is not just criticizing willy-nilly, just criticizing without foundation, but criticizing, holding the government to account, and proffering alternative solutions. That's how you win your way back into the hearts of people, especially at a time when the current administration is out of favor with the people. People are complaining about hardship. People are complaining about the removal of subsidy, the devaluation of the naira, the hardship it has visited upon them. So it is a golden opportunity for an opposition party to offer a different path and show that if we were in power, we would have done it this way. And if you trust us with your suffrages in the coming years, we'll do it this way and give you more relief. There's always opportunity in adversity.
Sure.
And if the PDP can harness the hardship, harness the opportunity presented by the hardship that the country is facing at the moment, it's a golden opportunity for them come 2027 and also elections that are coming before then.
Mr. Dayo Akintobi and Mr. Akin Fatinke. I'd like to thank you very much for such thorough analysis on this election ongoing in Ondo State. Thank you very much, sirs, for giving us your time. I will take a break here and return to continue the discussion. However, we'll keep updating you on happenings in Ondo State as residents cast their votes. Don't go away.